Here was an interesting download that I got regarding children. So, you know how when you play Pac-Man, the more men you get, the further you tend to get, you know what I mean, in the game. Well, imagine when you play that particular game and you know how as video games got older, they start allowing you to do expert level and so on and so forth. They allowed you to actually adjust it as opposed to you working further and further in and then it just get harder. Well, it does, but you know what I'm saying. So the expert level would be always harder to get more men, right? To get the extra Pac-Man or whatever, so to speak. So the extra live. Your children are the equivalent to those extra men. So what does that mean? That means every time you have a kid, you have allowed yourself, you've recreated yourself and a version of yourself in order to play out yet again to get to forward the progress of the oversoul that you belong to. So you have more, what would you say, like more options, more Pac-Man. You know what I'm saying? But those that choose not to have kids, and of course, I know this looks like, oh, you the person that don't have kids, so of course you gonna say some shit like that. But this is really some interesting shit when it came to me. Those who have less kids tend to have less men, right? They have less Pac-Man, which you would almost say it's more difficult to play the game with less men. That means you have less opportunity to fuck up, right? Let's look at it another way. When you went to high school, you were more of in a structure. The harder it got, the less structure it got. So when you went to college, I know when I went to college, it was a shock because I had so much freedom and it depended more on my discipline. Children are like the equivalent of training wheels. They literally, like training wheels literally are like smaller versions of the big wheel, but they're there to keep you more in a structured setting. And your soul must know that you need that extra something in order to further, or just depending on where your soul is or that oversoul is in the whole race, so to speak, or in its whole journey. So depending on where you are, when you tend to see those without kids, they have um a certain, maybe a certain level, it seems a little bit of freedom, but it's actually a little bit tougher in that they don't have anything to keep them in line, to always kind of like keep them like a training wheel does. It kind of keeps you from falling because it keeps you in it's all, a child is always demanding from you, right? They're always distracting you almost even from this and that. It's always that something looming back there to remind you to don't fuck up, right? At least that's what we would think. But if you have no kids, you don't have anything to distract you from your own thought, and you're now out there kind of like without that extra man. You don't have those say, okay, let's play it out. So say you did this with your 20s and your 30s, and you don't have any kids now. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have any other person to have passed that information down to. It's kind of like all on you to forward the progress of the soul. So you have to like literally carry that baton and see it through or funnel that energy somewhere else in order to ultimately uh get the soul to the checkpoint it needs to get to. But when you have more kids, it's almost like um I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can, if think about it, you playing a game of Pac-Man, you got 4 men versus the motherfucker next to you playing, he only got 1 man. You know what I'm saying? He on his last man. You would think that you would be the person that is skating easy, right? You know what I'm saying? Well, in a way, you kind of can blase fuck off a little bit though, because it can be dangerous because you have that training wheel, right? You know what I'm saying? So you tend to see people with a lot of kids a little bit more careless. Now we know this to be true. Now we ain't saying all people, but we tend to see those with more kids tend to be a little bit more careless. I.e., if you got like training wheels, you have the opportunity to do what? You got the opportunity to look all over the place versus somebody who has no training wheels and they have to pay attention to what they're doing at every second. You kind of get what I'm saying? It was really interesting when it came to me, and uh it's like, wow. So those without kids, we have to move with sure intention. Like it's almost like it's like this do or die situation. You know what I'm saying? Interesting shit. Tell me what you think.